People who've gone to an orgy party. What are some common misconceptions that people have about orgies? People actually socialize. Lots of talking and drinks are involved. Everyone was a regular, so there was a lot of catching up each month. The sex was more of a byproduct than the main attraction. Everyone there is hot. Not true. Average people there. You might see someone that you think is hot, sure. But it's normal everyday people getting it on. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of our videos. Hated it when I went to one. It was very socially awkward. Imagine you're at a bar having to reject men you aren't interested in who are coming on to you. That already sucks. Now imagine when they approach you, instead of talking, these men are immediately touching you, stroking your hair or shoulders or butt, and you have to find ways to put them off still. And when they finally get a clue, they sit there and stroke their dicks watching you have sex with someone else. Never again. There are rules. It's not a free for all. If you want that hot chick to skew off, you might need to get permission from her partner. Not everything is in play. Some women only will allow their partners to fuck them. Other women only will allow their man to fuck a woman they themselves want to go down on. There are rules discussed, and some stuff is off limits. Sex and relationship counselor here. I've learned about this stuff for my client's sake. It's not my cup of tea, but perfectly respectful as a sexual interest. Here's what I've learned with regards to premeditated group sex. Some people assume that they can just walk into an orgy or a sex party of any kind and things will magically just happen to them / for them. They assume that everyone is there to have sex, that they'll have sex with anyone, and that they'll be down for anything. In reality, legitimate sex parties or planned orgies, especially those with experienced organizers, place an incredible amount of importance on consent, communication, and courtesy. People aren't just expected to have sex with you, they can withdraw their consent at any time. Nobody is obligated to participate in any activity, and nobody is obligated to do things with anyone in particular. There is usually a brief / debrief in the form of an introduction and ground rules that everyone is presented with beforehand, such as through email or the day of. Experienced orgy holders will also have special rules for non-con activity. Some very thorough parties make you sign contracts for non-con behavior, including outlining your understanding of safe words and limits. It's also not unheard of for STI checks to be made and/or for condoms or other barriers to be made available and mandatory, especially if the party is larger. There are, obviously, exceptions to this where organization is low, consent isn't emphasized, STIs aren't checked, and safety / respect isn't as much of a concern. Engage at your own risk. Never actually been to one, but I was invited to one once. The guy was having a bunch of people over to immediately just have an orgy. He wanted me and my partner to take a photo of us holding a spoon and a fork and send it to him to prove if we were real people before we showed up. I decided not to go because I only want orgies with people I feel comfortable around, and I didn't know these people. Ah yes, something I can answer. So basically most nights start of normal. There's snacks and drinks, music, mingling. Just a lot of normal party stuff. At some point people may break off into groups and grab a room, or start a pile on the floor, or in the pool. People watch. So many people just watch. Which is fine, as long as they are quiet and respectful. Tacky comments like "shove it up her a" aren't generally appreciated. Ask before you join. Very few people have zero qualms about what's going on. Everyone has the right to say no. Maybe you look like her dad or his sister. If you just jump in, they may kick you out of the pile and not ask you back. Always ask. Not everyone is 6 feet tall, 140 pound of lean muscle. You've got moms, dads, fat people, skinny people, old people, youngish people. You might find a group who is all over 50 piled on the floor, humping the night away. Don't be f***ing rude and say st like nobody is hot here or everyone is old. It isn't the world's job to j you off or flick your bean. They have every right to f on my carpet, okay? As long as they put a towel down first. There isn't a ton of drugs around. Occasionally someone who is rolling might show up, but there isn't a platter with a pound of coke lying around for public consumption. Sometimes alcohol is prohibited entirely. Yeah, sober orgies are a thing. Not everyone is someone you wanna f***. That rude couple that do off at the fridge is likely to be boning next to you. Rotten crotch is a thing and can really ruin a good time. If you have a fishy odor/STD, please stay home and recuperate before you give 30 people BV or a yeast infection, or worse. I'd also not recommend an orgy if you have a permanent STD, because f***ing 30 people in one night is a good way to have the health department pounding down your door. You have to clean up after yourself. Even if there is paid staff to wash sheets, you need to clean up after yourself. Good host gifts for an orgy are detergent, cups, paper towels and TP, baby wipes, condoms and lube, puppy pads, sheets and towels, white gloves, bottled water and sport drink mix, a vinyl bed cover, they get ripped easily, snacks and sodas, trash bags. If someone is hosting the orgy at their house, ask if they need help cleaning up before, during, or after. Lastly, a lot of times, nothing insane goes down, but everyone still has fun. I'd rather someone come out and dip their toes in than feel forced to participate. They're a bit more private to get into that you might think. You usually need a password. They are also not usually in high-end establishments. You're doing dirty stuff, so low-end apartments are more common. People don't usually expect a buffet, but you never want to get into all the sex on an empty stomach. People are also usually wearing masks, which makes it very difficult to determine anything about the attractiveness of any of the people involved. There's also usually some cool stuff going down under the bridge that people don't know about. It's not easy sex. It's all a careful dance of consent. You still have to be a decent human. Last party I missed, 4 naked guys nearly kicked this guy's ass. He was putting off super creeper vibes and not getting consent or accepting no as an answer. Not attractive people. It really depends on personal taste. I don't mind a little chub or someone who is older. They are just people from all walks of life. I've met some awesome people at sex parties. It's been a transformative part of my life. I wish everyone could enjoy a sex party/orgy/gangbang as much as me. Here are my tips. 1. Bring a date. Either to have idle chit chat with or someone you're familiar with sexually. 2. Bring some food or drink. People tend to bring vegetable trays or wine/beer. I spent one party eating all the cheese out of a tomato/cheese tub. 3. If it's at someone's house, be courteous and ask if there is anything you can help do. Get massage tables set up. Move some stuff. 4. Make sure there is an expectation/introduction part. Hi. My pronouns are he/him. I'm mostly here to watch and maybe play a little. Please approach me if you want to do some BDSM or other play. 5. Know your limits of alcohol or drug consumption. Don't get so stuffed up that naked people have to care for you. 6. Have fun. Don't stress. Be safe. Everyone is there for a good time. That you won't run into someone you know. This is applicable for swinger parties and less for parties with friends that turn into orgies. Obviously, my wife and I go to swinger parties. We live in a small town, 150,000 people. It's Southern California. That's a small number of people to us. My wife's mom is a social hub and personally knows like 300 people. A lot of my wife's mom's friends are in or periphery to the swinger lifestyle. So we see people we know from outside of the swinger lifestyle randomly at swinger parties. It's surprisingly not as big of a deal as it seems like it would be. We understand they won't rat us out. They understand we won't rat them out. Occasionally people even bring their siblings, not to sleep with, but to couple. I couldn't bring myself to do it, but it is kinda hot nailing 2 different sisters in one night. I've been to a handful. The first one was a sort of accidental occurrence. There was a house party, and once it got late enough that the squares were gone, 2 people started getting freaky, and instead of people getting awkward, more and more people started getting freaky with each other. It was a great time. This happened a few more times before the couple hosting it just thought, might as well just skip out on inviting the squares and make a more intentional space. They invited a smaller group and actually set up some rules, and it turned out to be more awkward. I think having a few hours of holding back was part of what made it work. I don't think many would have paid to see us going at it, but I think the majority were above average in looks. I had my first foursome at one of these parties and really enjoyed it. I met people I continued to have sex with for a while, and it was a great way to meet like-minded people. I think it gradually fizzled out because the ratio got too men heavy. It starts to drive women away, which makes the ratio even worse and spirals out of control. They moved shortly after and got divorced, and I don't think they really ever started again, but it's totally possible they just didn't invite me. Later a different crowd had orgies that an ex got us invited to. They had a specific time you had to be there by to do an introduction circle and establish ground rules. People there mostly had sex with people they already knew, and I felt like it was more voyeuristic. I went to a few of those and mostly just had sex with my partner in front of people. I made out with a few other people and watched a lot, but didn't really have any substantive contact with others there. I stopped getting invited when I broke up with the partner I got invited with. They really put in work to keep a good balanced ratio. That crowd was really hot. They went to a lot of sex clubs and only invited people they were really into. Last group I went to was a four-pay sort of establishment. Single men couldn't go, IRC, but I went with a partner. The crowd was a lot more uneven, some very hot people, and some people I was less into. Because a lot fewer people knew each other, there were some creepy people. I had someone watch me and jack off while I was having sex with my partner, and I should have told him to shove off or told the moderator, but I also didn't want to stop having sex. It was my first time there too. What I liked about it is they had weird specialized equipment like a pommel horse sort of thing, violet wands, etc. I only went once because it wasn't really my scene. I also feel like without an introduction circle where people kinda say what they're into, I felt like it was hard to figure out how forward to be. It's a sex party, so no one's under the illusion that you're going to talk, but being too crude is still awful for everyone. So as an inexperienced person in that space, I just stuck with the people I went with. There are a wide variety of other types of orgies I've heard about. They vary a lot in quality. I recommend starting by going with someone you know and either just show off or wing person each other. Being lonely at an orgy sucks. It can also be stressful on a relationship. There are new weird boundaries and a lot can happen in a short period of time. Also, don't be afraid to start hosting some and see what happens. If you want to host one, I'd recommend a no alcohol policy. A ton of acquaintance rate has alcohol involved, and any person acting up can drive a ton of people away really fast. Establish ground rules and have multiple people that are willing to address it. I don't see a problem with other drugs, but your decisions regarding that should be intentional and clear. I think the best ones had the hosts vetting everyone. You can let people bring +1s, but ask for someone to vouch and tell them they don't get invited back if their guest is problematic. Also make sure someone is willing to get things started. A lot of people don't want to be the first naked people, so make sure someone is willing to go for it at some point. Have safer sex supplies available, but also tell people to bring their own. There's rules. At least at the ones I went to. You contact anyone outside the orgy setting, you're immediately banned. You talk about paying for sex, you're immediately banned. You bring your relationship drama into the orgy, you're not coming back. The host told me about a guy who started eating a woman's pee way, but he'd ever done it to his wife and it really lit her off because she thought he just stood it. So she stormed out. He was told to go get her, but he dismissed her anger and was then informed that if he didn't smooth things out with her right away, he was getting kicked out and not invited back. If a man tries to hog certain women and not give the other guys a chance to have sex with her, he's probably not getting invited back. You touch a woman who isn't laying on a bed, you're getting banned unless she jumps to your defense. You don't use a condom, you're getting banned. You will take a rapid HIV test at your first orgy, and you will take a new one every 3 months, or you will not participate. You will bring something to drink. You may not drink alcohol unless you help replenish the alcohol. After people started needing to sleep over because they were obviously too drunk to drive home, the alcohol had to be cut off an hour before the orgy was scheduled to end. My professional band played a Halloween party for a swingers group in Los Angeles. Because the main party was in a ballroom, no pun intended, in a hotel, the Vice Squad was there to make sure there was no indecency. We were interrupted several times on stage by the coordinator, who warned everyone not to expose their genitals on the dance floor or the Vice Squad would shut it down. Kind of crazy that the city was wasting so many resources policing a bunch of middle-aged swingers in sexy outfits. Found out later that the vice follows these groups from place to place to harass them. After the party everyone paired up and went to their rooms, so I didn't get to witness anything. Not that I would want to. Imagine going to any Walmart on Sunday and seeing everyone there start getting naked and having sex. Our singer was a fairly attractive black dude who was a part of this particular swingers group. He was the one who got us the gig. Anyway, he told us that old white couples love to have him in on their three-ways. He said most of the time he would bang some guy's wife while the husband watched from across the room. I guess this is a common enough fantasy that he could go to their parties solo and always get some fun time.